Jah watereth the garden where the flowers grow, and life everywhere depends on that alone, to keep the river flowing so that life can bloom. Ask and it shall provide inside of you, for his love is like an ever-flowing endless stream. And to enter Mount Zion, you know you got to be clean. So purify your heart of hearts, and I and I shall never part. For only love can bring us back together as one. Connect us with the earth, the stars, the moon, and the sun. So look to the skies, realize what them clouds signify. A jet time has come, a jet time has come. The blue skies ahead, oh my Lord, said I, some rain instead. That's my crops.
The thing about air is that, we can survive for a while without food, we can survive for a while without water, but really only minutes without air, So it's really our most vital resource. Well, I think now more than ever, the air that we breathe is even under attack, and there's a whole industrial complex that's putting a lot of toxicity into the air. So it's more than ever, we need to fight and be aware to keep our air safe. Because like I said, it's the thing that's most important to us, even before, water and food. And we think a lot about eating organic and drinking clean water, and maybe not as much about the air, but that's probably the most important thing, right? And just like our food and just like our water, it's under attack. And you come to a beautiful place like this, and the air is so crisp and clean here, and it reminds you, how important, how vital that is to us.
So I'm Ramona. I'm a trauma therapist and herbalist, and I weave between this outer and inner nature, and how one connects the other, because the outer nature, the plants, and this beauty around us really supports the healing of our inner landscape, and healing our nervous system helps us to perceive nature around us and open to the beauty. So it's one and the same work for me. And I'm here on this festival since some years, holding a ceremonial space where I exactly invite to go deep with the earth element, with the drum, with the voices, with the incense, with the power of the trees, inviting the animals and the earth, the birds, everybody on the land to celebrate together. Because life is this one huge celebration, it really is, and it's not always about joy. Celebration is also about sadness. It's also about, struggle. But in the celebration of life, all of this has its place. And Pachamama for me is about this. It's about meeting each other in authenticity, welcoming each other in our tears and in our laughter, and finding a way to deeply connect to oneself, to the others, to the earth, and really coming back to life in that.
Through life we go through different stages, so we could be in tune with this or that element more, right? Because by birth I'm much more earth element with the fire elements. But at the same time, I see that every element, every archetype plays a major role in my life. So it's not just a one particular. And I think it's for everyone, same way. You can explore elements within just one day. So this is part of the mystery, I think, also. like our relationship with this incredible, visibly invisible thing. Wind can talk, fire can talk, water can talk, earth can talk. You just need to listen.
So sitting here in the river in beautiful Switzerland, in the mountains around Rona, in Pachamama Festival, surrounded by flowing mountain water, being asked to say something about water. And I'm very happy to say something about water. It's something that is very dear to me, it's one of my main prayers, I suppose, of my life, to keep the water close, to have a relation with the water. I'm very happy today to just sit and hear it flow by. I was just at the river with my daughter, and this joy of going to the river with my daughter is something very, very profound. The water for me is connected to life itself. Something like, they say water is life. Water is the pure essence of the divine here on this plane. Water is what gives us life, what gives us emotion, what holds our memory, what gives us vitality, what gives us freshness. Water is somehow the keeper of our soul in physical form. And I feel like the intelligence and the wisdom and the soul, the very soul or the very spirit of the water is one that is perhaps our oldest ancestor on this plane. Sometimes I feel like the most ancient feminine force or feminine presence here on earth is the water. With the water, I feel like she has known me for as long as I've existed. As long as my life, my ancestor line has been present on earth, the water has tended us. The water has nourished us. The water has sustained us. The water has kept us alive, given us, blessed us, graced us with the life that we have, and gives us fertility, gives us the dreaming, gives us imagination, gives us our ability to flow, our ability to get clean, our ability to connect with truth and purity. Many people talk about the feminine water, no? Water being something feminine. I've been taught that water also has masculine form. It also has masculine manifestation. They say that the horizontal waters, the lakes and the rivers and the oceans, are the feminine waters. And they say that the water that falls from the sky, the vertical waters, are the masculine waters. So recognizing that in each element there's the presence of the masculine and the feminine, the duality is somehow contained in each element. And here amongst the feminine waters, the rivers, the lakes, in all traditions, you have the river deities. They are usually feminine, Oshun and the ocean, Yemanja. That's why I love going to the river with my daughter. I feel like we are connecting to this ancient river of motherline. When we are walking into the river, we're sort of coming into the stream of all women that has ever lived, that is somehow living in that river. No? And how beautiful it is to step into that and just listen and just feel. And just feel that immense well of wisdom and purity and goodness. This very river that has been here since before humans were even here. Since the first day human walked the earth, this water, this very same water, has been here. Clenching the thirst of every being walking or swimming or flying on this realm. So when we step into this river, when we drink this water, we somehow receive the blessings and the dreams and the life stories and all that goodness and wisdom of everyone that has ever drank it before. Because the water knows the story of everyone. It knows the sorrows, it knows the victories, it knows the hardships, it knows the joys, it knows the prayers of every single one, of every single being. And when we step into a water source, like a pure river like this one, we step into that as a library. We step into that as a well of wisdom and prayer and knowledge. And really receiving from the blood of Mother Earth the purity of life. And when we connect with that purity and allow that to sort of refreshen us, we remember what is true and good and sacred. And we remember what our ancestors have been praying for us, what is our purpose in life. And we remember somehow, without necessarily having each thought very clear, we just have this calm, pure state. We allow the frequency of the water to cleanse our sonic body, our energy, cleanse our own water cells, our own inner waters. And we walk away with a much more vibrant, alive being. For this reason, I like a lot to bring my daughter to the river and sing to the water and pray to the water, you know, because water is receptive. Whatever we put in the water stains the water, right? So we must be very careful when we talk to water and when we sing to water and how we behave around water, how we take care of it. I've been told that and taught that we don't put anything into water except the pure nectar of our hearts. We put in our sweetest prayers, our dreams, our best wishes, our sweetest songs, the sweetest melodies, because that is the nectar of our hearts. That is the only thing that is worthy of the divinity that is water.
And when I talk about the element of the earth, the first thing that comes to me is really the beauty. It's the beauty of the trees and of the plants and of the animals, and how that all is family, because it keeps us alive. And it's very, you know, in a way romantic and primitive to say this is family, like the trees and the animals are our brothers and sisters. And on the same moment, when we imagine that, you know, this is an indigenous perspective, it's an indigenous a sense of feeling the element of the earth. And when we imagine a whole culture seeing the element of the earth, the trees, the plants, the animals as brothers and sisters, this creates a whole different relationship. So this story, this perspective is so wise. It's not romantic at all. It's so wise. Because when we see something as part of our family, the way how we connect with it, the way how we care is so deep, is so direct. And it's such an important thing to find access to that deep connection with the earth element in today's time.
Bueno, buenos días. Mi nombre es Alejandro y soy de Costa Rica, ahí nací. El abuelo fuego es como un portal que se abre. Es como la divinidad del gran espíritu, como lo que llamamos creer el universo, que abre su boca y podemos entrar a ver el mundo invisible. Y al mismo tiempo a ir a un momento de autoconocimiento. Entonces el fuego, cuando tenemos un fuego, por ejemplo, en este festival hoy, a la hora que lo iniciamos, el fuego le tenemos que dar un significado de lo sagrado que es, porque muchas veces, pues sí, tenemos fuegos para cocinar salchichas, marshmallows, ¿verdad? Y es el fuego, ahí está el fueguito con nosotros, el fuego de la cocina, el fuego del hogar con el alimento, el fuego de cuando hace mucho frío, que nos reunimos, el fuego cuando hay canto. Y todo es sagrado, es parte de la vida. A la hora que tomamos un momento de poner un poco de tabaco, el tabaco como una planta maestra, que es una planta que es como una llave para abrir el mundo invisible, y se pide una bendición, como una introducción de decir, aquí estamos, venimos a hacer un rezo, venimos a hacer un trabajo intencionado, y nos presentamos a todos los espíritus del lugar, a los ancestros, a los guardianes, a los elementales, y ponemos ese tabaco, y ponemos esa madera con buena intención, porque es una madera que va a un fuego sagrado, y de ahí pues ese fuego empieza poquito a poco a nacer. A mí me gusta que ese fueguito, cuando lo estamos poniendo poquito, se le va agregando palitos, es como un bebé que van haciendo y se va rezando, se va hablando, se va poniendo intencionando conforme esa llama va creciendo. Y un pronto a otro ya tenemos un fueguito que empezó, y es un fuego que tiene una intención de trabajo, una intención en donde yo cuando tomo un fuego o veo un fuego, siento que me está hablando, siento que me está llamando y me está diciendo, mira, hay más allá de lo que tú ves aquí. Aquí ves la parte material de esto, pero hay un mundo invisible en todo esto. Y a la hora que tú observas ese fuego y lo observas y lo observas y lo observas, te va dando una tranquilidad, te va dando como un centro, como una armonía, como una neutralidad y un calorcito que te deja percibir todo lo demás en más calma. Porque el fuego, una de sus partes que tiene es que él transmuta la energía. Entonces, cuando en un momento nos sentimos no sé, tristeza, sentimos un poco de enojo, son emociones que están ahí no para huir de ellas, sino que para poderlas ver, para poder aprender de ellas, para ver el orden oculto que tiene, porque todo es creación de la divinidad. Entonces, por algo yo tengo que ver ese momento de oscuridad, llamémoslo así. Entonces, a la hora que yo veo el fuego, me da esa calma, esa neutralidad para yo poder entrar en mi mundo, en mi templo, en mis emociones, en mi forma de pensar, y pues me da una tranquilidad para poder estar en calma conmigo mismo y aprender quién soy yo en ese momento.
I connected deeply with the plants. So the plants, as I said before, it's like they are the language of the earth. And it's actually interesting because what makes a plant a healing plant is because they manage to overcome a difficulty. So let's say, for example, the nettles. Yeah, our ancestors, they made clothes out of the nettles, and they used it for food. So the nettle wouldn't exist today if she would not have learned to find a way to protect herself. And she did that with that fine hairs that are stingy. And so when I don't know how to protect myself, I find the solution in the element of the earth. I find it in the plants, so I can connect to a plant that already embodies this, and when I then connect to this plant, I can also embody this. And in this way, the work and the learning from the earth element and from the plants becomes super direct and super practical as well. And this is actually what the earth invites us to become very practical. So I love these very fine these very fine spiritual concepts. They're so beautiful, and they become meaning when we start to root them into action. So the earth really invites us to become, to dive into action, to become very productive, by putting our hands into the soil, by gardening, by planting trees. And on the same time, this very practical aspect, but another beautiful way to connect with the earth element is really through ritual. Because the ritual gives us the experience, so like the empiric knowledge of the living earth. So we can talk about the living earth, and it lands somewhere and it can touch us. But the ritual is a space, the earth ritual is a space where we can experience it in our emotional body, in our energetic body. And there it becomes this empiric knowledge that really makes a shift. And we need these both spaces. The most wise old grandfathers I met, they are these healers that very deeply communicate with the earth element through the plants, and on the same time they're super practicals. Mostly they're farmers, like they have this grandfather I learned with, he had his cacao farm, so in the day he was working hard, and in the night he would heal with the plants. And this is for me the invitation of the earth element, to connect this very fine spiritual side with bringing it into the practical and rooting it down to the earth. And the roots of the plants, they can also support us in that. You know, these deep roots, for example, here we have a lot of dandelions, and the deep roots of the dandelions is an ancient medicine to root down our own being. That's the invitation.
Entonces, a la hora de tener un fuego en un festival, el fuego está apoyando a sostener ese festival en todo lo que es la energía que se está moviendo, toda la energía de pensamientos, de emociones. Es lindo ver acá, por ejemplo, este fuego, en este lugar que tenemos acá, hay 3 fuegos, por ejemplo, y a veces unos más hechos por ahí con otra gente que está hablando. Pero bueno, principalmente está el fuego de la cocina, que es donde la comunidad se sienta a cocinar su comida, y uno puede pasar por ahí y ver las familias cocinando su comida, hablando. Hay una expresión de ese fuego. Después está el otro fuego, que es un fuego más como de encuentro, para cantar, para hablar, y usted pasa ahí, se ve ese fuego grande y todo el mundo cantando, bailando, danzando. Y tiene la otra parte de ese fuego, en que es el fuego más en silencio, cuando es un momento en que yo necesito un poquito de calma, no quiero moverme mucho, necesito algo para estar conmigo, ese balance de estar un rato conmigo, pues vengo al fuego acá del silencio, que es en el área acá del norte, donde estamos. Entonces están esas hermosas montañas, que ahí siento que en su geometría sagrada, ahí se puede como ver los abuelos, las abuelas ahí, los ancestros ahí durmiendo. Entonces un fuego que arrancó en el fuego del silencio, y esa llama la llevó al fuego de, ¿cómo se llama?, del encuentro, donde se canta. Y varía un poco de tradición en tradición, cada persona, cada tradición te va a decir un poco diferente lo que significa cada dirección, por dónde se arranca el fuego, lo que se hace, lo que no se hace, varía un poco. Pero yo he llegado a ver que es una relación muy personal con el fuego. En el momento que si tú llegas a donde un abuelito fuego, y tú estás comiendo, tú le ofrendas un poquito de comida al fuego. Donde a veces llegas y le pones un poco de tabaco para presentarte con el fuego. De decir, aquí estoy y vengo a hablar contigo, vengo a conocerte y a conocerme a mí mismo. Entonces es bien lindo ver cómo muchas personas llegan acá al fueguito, le ponen un poco de tabaco y se ponen a llorar. Lloran, 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 ven el fuego, transmutan, y de un momento a otro ya tienen tranquilidad y tienen calma, para así ver esas cosas que tenemos que ver, que a veces cuando no tenemos la tranquilidad, estamos en esa reacción, nos cuesta un poquito entender qué es lo que está pasando. Entonces el fuego da esa tranquilidad. Como les digo, el fuego está presente en toda ceremonia que yo conozco, inclusive ceremonias en que no hay un fuego, hay una candela en un momento. Entonces siempre hay como una llama ahí que nos recuerda que está ese espíritu, esa apertura de ese portal, donde vamos a ir a conocernos un poco más nuestro templo. Eso es un poco de mi experiencia, de lo que me han compartido, y al mismo tiempo yo también he reflexionado, a la hora que me lo comparten, también he reflexionado cuál es la verdad en mí, en esa relación con el fuego.
It's so interesting because many rituals that we have also on these festivals are with plants and trees from other continents. So I love to bring the incense of this area and also the trees and the plants into the ceremonies that are growing here around. And it's so powerful because, you know, our ancestors, they smelled this landscape and these trees, and something in us remembers immediately. So it's a different knowledge, it's a different memory that we can access. And also just, you know, bringing in the connection. Like I sat with a friend, and he said, how can you not get overwhelmed here? And I said, what helps me is to also really take in these other layers, like not just down here as humans, but really, okay, there is this layer of forest around, and then there is the layer of the mountains, and taking that into and inviting that into my energetic space, which helps me to be here, like in that same presence. So I invite that again into my earth, this vibration, into the earth that I am. They help me embody the presence. It's a way of learning again. And then holding that space. Yeah, and it's interesting. It's the clash of culture and nature, no, that we have here too. So the ritual also helps us to balance culture and nature, because culture is really human-made, and nature is what's there, what the earth gives us. And the ritual helps us to navigate there and really become clear again. Okay, what is human-made, and what from that serves me, and what from all that human-made aspects are actually not essential.
Y justo pues cuando venía para acá, Melinda pues me dijo que iba a estar a cargo del fuego del silencio, que para mí fue un regalo muy hermoso. Y casualmente el día que veníamos para acá, yo dije, puñe, no sabía yo que te iba a estar a cargo del fuego del silencio, no había traído como pluma para darle la llamita, porque el fuego le gusta, cada uno lo va a soplar un poco, que no use cartón ni nada, le gusta el viento que venga de plumas. Entonces pasamos ahí y una hermana me regaló unas plumas acá de, ¿cómo se dice? Raven, el cuervo. El cuervo. Sí, entonces me regaló un ala de cuervo, que es la que hemos estado usando para tener el fueguito acá vivo cuando se ocupa. Y también yo he estado con el fuego un rato conversando, y yo digo, ¿cuál será las plantas, las medicinas, las tradiciones de este lugar? ¿Verdad? ¿Cómo será el diseño de un fuego tradicional de este lugar? Y fue interesante porque un compañero, cuando encendió el fuego, sintió el llamado de traer estas plantitas, que es Sanjón, ¿verdad? Que estaban explicándome a mí que bueno, que es un tradicional, que es de acá, ¿verdad? Y que pues trae mucha luminosidad, es una planta muy luminosa. Entonces las personas cuando tienen un poco de depresión, cuando están un poco tristes, toman un poco de la planta para que le traiga un poquito de luz, adentro. Entonces bueno, le abrimos la relación totalmente con el fuego. Entonces fue lindo iniciar ese fuego con un poco de flores para presentarle al abuelo, que tenían también la conexión con una flor que es también luminosa. Ahora, con toda esta parte de la luz y la oscuridad, yo lo que he visto que en las prácticas chamánicas nos enseña mucho a trabajar la oscuridad, no tenerle miedo a la oscuridad. Que la oscuridad y la luz es la misma en diferente frecuencia vibracional, y que es importante yo ver también mis partes oscuras, mis partes en que me dan miedo, mis partes que me dan tristeza, mis partes que no me gusta ver, porque nos has enseñado que hay que huir de eso, que no tenemos que pasar tristes, que todo el tiempo hay que pasar alegres, y que no, la vida tiene de todo. Lo que la medicina nos enseña, o las ceremonias o los rituales nos enseñan, es un poco esa neutralidad, esa calma para poder ver lo que la vida tiene en ese momento y entender que todo es creación del gran espíritu de Dios, divinidad, y que está ahí por alguna razón, que son llaves de autoconocimiento. Entonces el fuego ceremonial, el fuego en un proceso de ceremonia es un despertar, es un camino iniciático para yo caminar y encontrar la divinidad en mí. Ya está ahí, está en nosotros. Lo que pasa es que tiene muchos velos que no nos dejan ver el regalo de la vida.
We have to find our own strength, our own connection, our own authority inside ourselves. And it's beautiful when we meet an elder or even younger wise man, because we lived all kind of lives. There is incredible younger generation also have a lot of wisdom. But at the same time, it's not about being dependent. I've had these situations when I had these older people in my life, and they were acted a little bit as not the guru, but like a wise man or woman. At the same time, a few of them were creating a bit of a dependency, and those who I really had a deep connection with, they cut the dependency. They pushed me out to the world. what I'm super grateful for, because I had to find my own way. So this support and help and checking for me what is good for me in a way, you know, and telling me, oh, this is good for you, this is good for me, but can I feel what is good for me? And what do I need to go? You know, this dependency is not so good. We can exchange and we can listen to the wisdom of different traditions and different individuals, but we have to figure ourselves really, you know. We can share, that's beautiful, you know, but the strength comes is not from somebody else. It comes from our own relationships, experiences, and reawakening this natural relationship and connection.
The idea for me is that we all have a great healer, a shaman within, a teacher within, a wise elder within, and I think that's the idea for me, is like it's a calling to wake that up in everyone, because you know, we live in a system where we're taught that you know, we have leaders and we're the people, we follow the leaders, we listen to what they say, we do what they say. But we each have our own path and our own destiny, and when we can be leaders for ourselves and take on that responsibility, then we don't need to look to others to lead us anymore, and we can be leaders within our own household, within our own community, and you know, and show each other the way. And I think that's the idea for me, you know.
So I'm very happy to be here at the Pachamama Festival, where there is such a consciousness around the water. I'm very happy to see that all over the festival there are dry toilets. I'm so happy to see, you know, just the maturity of creating something where we understand that the water has to be kept clean always. Where when we go and we dispose of our old energy, we do that in the earth, because our old energy is food for the earth, whereas the water needs to stay clear so that it can keep refreshing us and keep clarifying us and keep rejuvenating us. That is the source, that is the first medicine. So keeping the water clean is perhaps the most important teaching that we can ever carry. And I'm very happy to be here and see that. So happy to see the Moon Sisters take care of, you know, have a water prayer and really show a good example. There's a lot of youth around, there's a lot of children, there's a lot of families. It's a really beautiful thing to keep the water sanctified and keep the water sacred, keep it in an altar, keep it, honor it as an elder, honor it as a goddess, honor it as a divinity. And you know, cherish it with song and dance and joy, and tell stories, you know, tell our secrets, tell our wishes, tell our dreams, share it with the water so that she can, you know, bless us back and nourish the goodness in us, nourish the divine seeds that live in our hearts. And the water has the possibility or the capacity to make sprout in our hearts the most precious sacred seeds that lies in our hearts, and just awaits the divine drops, the celestial waters, to sprout the divine seeds in our hearts. A lot of our hearts are lying in deserts, you know, but they're just waiting. It's just waiting for the divine drops to come and reach them so that they can come out and flourish and then blossom. And we need the water for that, so let's take care of the water. Let's honor it, let's bless it, let's keep an altar in our home to sanctify it in our daily lives. Let's keep it clean. Let's find a way where we can install dry toilets. Let's, and let's go to the river in this way with our kids, sing to it, laugh to it, dance with it, and honor it.
Entonces las ceremonias son para buscar nuestra autenticidad. Para todo este montón de creencias que tenemos, tomar un momento de reflexionar y decir, esto es realmente lo que yo quiero hacer. Realmente yo pienso, digo y siento, o a veces pienso una cosa, digo otra cosa y siento otra cosa. Entonces el abuelo fuego, cuando ves un fuego, El abuelo te busca centrarte, te busca que sea coherente lo que uno piensa, lo que uno dice, lo que uno siente, para después actuar. No hagas nada antes de reflexionar de lo que piensas, dices y sientes, esté alineado. Entonces, a la hora que vamos a un fuego o una ceremonia, buscamos esa introspección, ese autoconocimiento de nosotros. La tradición azteca te dice, antes de hacer algo, conócete a ti mismo, para que así puedas crear algo que viene de tu verdad, no la verdad en otro, puesta en ti. Entonces, toda esta parte del fuego ceremonial, toda esta parte de los rituales, las ceremonias, el fuego, no es un escape, no es un viaje psicodélico, no es un momento de buscar un alivio porque estoy sufriendo y quiero un momento de alivio. No, lo que la medicina, el mundo espiritual quiere, la expresión, es que realmente nos sanemos en profundidad. Y ese fuego da esa fuerza de voluntad de poder hacer, de tener esa fuerza de voluntad de lo que yo pude ver y entender en un ritual. No va a pasar nada si yo no lo camino, porque la medicina, el ritual, la ceremonia, el fuego, no va a hacer nada por mí de que yo no haga por mí mismo. Yo soy el que tengo que crear mi realidad y por lo tanto tengo que vaciarme de todo lo que no es mío para poder crear. ¿Cuándo me puedo vaciar? En momentos que tengo introspección, en momentos que tengo una neutralidad, y ahí donde el fuego yo siento que te da esa parte, te da ese centro, esa profundidad para tener calma y poderse entender uno quién es.
The interesting thing about the rituals is that all around the earth we find similar patterns. So it's one shamanism, it's one earth knowledge. This is what shamanism is. It's like the wisdom of the earth, the power of the earth in practice, in action. And we find the same patterns, and it's just a bit different, you know, with the plants and with the sounds, and everywhere, all landscapes, they have a bit of different melodies as well. So, but we find the same patterns in the different areas, and rituals don't have to be complex. It's very much about tuning into the earth element. It's much about listening, and so when we listen to the earth outside, we start to connect deeper to the earth within. And this also happens really practically because the elements and everything around us in nature and in this earth element calms our nervous system. So the bird sounds calm our nervous system, or the smells, the etheric oils of the plants, or the terpenes in the forest. We know that this calms our nervous system, which means that we arrive in the here and now, and we can access more to the essential part inside of us, which is the earth inside of us. And in that earth, every human being has its very own seeds. And so the earth element, when we connect with her, it supports us connecting to that inner earth and these seeds, and it helps that this can blossom. So it's like it's a conversation, much more than a specific practice. But a ritual always has a strong intention, and it's a space with a clear start, a clear ending. It's a focus. And in that, the communication happens.
And you know, it's just such pure water here. It's the purity here is pristine. So I guess it's also somehow simply giving thanks for that, you know. We're here right in the mountain. It's coming out of the very manantial where the river is born. It's very sacred water. So you can feel that the water spirit is really alive here. It's not been through thousands of tubes and lost its spirit on the way. It's alive. And, you know, I'm just happy to see the community go to the river, bathing and refreshing and connecting with it and really, you know, touching it. It's very simple in that sense. And yeah, you know, thinking about all the places in the world that don't have that privilege and don't have that blessing of living in a water temple such as this one, and always thinking about the deserts, always thinking about the places that are thirsty, all the dry lands and all the drought and all the people that are thirsty and that have to go and buy their limited, 20-liter bottle per week. There's a lot of thirsty people, a lot of thirsty animals, a lot of thirsty land. So coming to these places, I also like to not just bless the water, but receive the blessing from the strong spirit or the presence of the spirit of the water that is here, and like fill myself with it and try to send it out to all those places that are thirsty, and sort of send those ripples, and try to quench their thirst. No, all the mamas that are in hot places giving milk and are thirsty, quench their thirst. Sometimes we cannot, if they don't have the water accessible, then we can somehow maybe send the spirit, go there, sing the song, and and also inspire the people to what can we do? How can we make sure that everybody have clean water? This should be the main task of humanity. We are ingenious. We're geniuses, all of us. We have so much skill and capacity and knowledge and wisdom and funds and everything. How do we? What bridge needs to be built in order for all humans to have clean water? And how can we make that happen? How can we puzzle that together? And just praying that as much as we can install this consciousness of how important it is, how alive it is, how precious it is, and simply awaken that consciousness in people, in everybody, awaken that memory, so that we together can figure out how to provide, how can there be clean water for everybody, for all children, for all mamas, all papas, all uncles and aunties and sons and daughters, and all humans, animals, birds, everything, that to have clean water. And also to be aware, these are times when, unfortunately, water is exploited a lot, and there's a lot of politics that are being done that does not support the preciousness and the sacredness of the water. And then we have to be aware of this, because this is happening on our shift. We are the adults now, and everything that is happening in the world right now is happening on our shift.
That's the nature of the universe, is we'll always have a balance. There will always be serial killers, and there will always be supremely enlightened gurus and everything in between. And that's the beauty of it, and that's the balance. And I think it's a pendulum that swings, and I think right now we're in a kind of a backswing. We've come to a very extreme time in human existence, and we're living through a very, very extreme, strange, and unprecedented time. I know that for certain things will return to balance, and for a long time my mentality was to fight against the corruption and the greed inherent in our system, and I came to a certain point where I realized, the system is so heavily unbalanced that it's almost impossible to make a change from within it. And I realized that it's the nature of it is that it's so top heavy that it's only a matter of time before, like historically Rome, for example, crumbles under the own weight of its own corruption and greed. And so I think we're living in the manifestation of that sort of time in modern history. But I glean hope every day from encounters with beautiful people that I meet, like yourselves, that I know are working to better themselves, to make this world better. And I have hope I see hope in the faces of my beautiful children, and so many of the wonderful children that I saw running around today. And I think, if you if you lose hope, then that's one of the goals of the system that we live in that seeks to control us. So much of the media is designed to make people feel like there's nothing they can do about it, so to just give up hope of making any change. And it's very sad that people in mass fall victim to that mentality of like, well, yeah, it's over there, and they have a great military and political might, so what could we do about it? And then they just give up and stop talking about it. So I find hope in seeing people that don't succumb to that still stand up and speak out for what's right, regardless of the outcome, regardless of how it endangers them, and that gives me hope.
And we can do oh so much when we are spirits and stars in the sky. We can support with our love and blessings, but right now we have ability to act, we have ability to create, we can take action. And I really feel we have to do that because, we're holding the torch of life for just a little bit of time. And this water is going to be here way after we're gone, and it's somehow our responsibility that our descendants and grandchildren and great-great-great-grandchildren can sit by a river such as this one and receive the blessing of the spirit of the water in the way that we can now. And that's not to take that for granted. And what can we do to preserve that? So I guess whenever there's, people around like hearing words being said about water, one thing about is how rich it is, how precious it is, how delicate it is, how divine it is, and how, oh so holy it is. And another thing is, and then what? How can we take care of it? How can we make sure that it always flows like this? How can we be water protectors? And how can we keep sacred waters in ourselves? And how can we actually take care? How can we be guardians of what is sacred? How can we be water guardians? And I like to try to ignite this consciousness, this awareness in people too, because I know there's so many people that are so skilled and have so much influence and power and possibilities, and I hope that we all remember together that this is what is important. This is what we have to focus on. Should be always our main priority. Yeah, to keep the water clean.
I mean, what I feel in such places, and of course this circle is a special one, but there is this kind of circles are all over the world, and this is something belongs to our old ways. We cannot go backwards. We live in a different era, but we could always refer to that kind of being in synergy between each other, in co-creation with each other. So it's a great reminder. At the same time, we have to keep on going. That means we have to include also the life we have today. We don't have to take everything, right? What is happening today in the world. We can contribute with what we also have as a reference, like this, like such a circle, and as I recall from yesterday, the circle is getting bigger. Not everybody want to be part of it, and it's not necessary also, everybody in their own spaces. But such space, such meetings, with such an open heartedness, absolutely important for us to keep going. This really keeps our humanity alive. It keeps this natural way of being alive. Because in the world of machinery, and we will see more and more of it, it's going to be a bit complex for us to go on in this reality. But I'm sure we will know how to deal with it, because there are many of those of us and those who are maybe opening more, we would keep this alive, even though we have no idea where we're going at the moment. It's really quite a roller coaster globally. But if you stay here, if you stay here, if you stay here, it's gonna be fine.
Yes, I just say that in English as well. They came from all over the world, mainly from Switzerland, but many around and from all over. So thank you very much that you came to this gathering, to this Pachamama Festival 2024 and filled this field with love, with your conscious, with your awareness to be together in this field. Thank you very much. Auf dem Land, in Rona, Mulegns, in Graubünden, haben wir das erste Mal das Pachamama Festival öffnen, das Feld von dem Gathering. Und ich bin sehr, sehr dankbar für die offenen Menschen hier in diesem Tal, die uns hier empfangen haben. Wo all die Bauern, es sind 7 Partien, also 8 Partien, die uns Land gegeben haben. Ich bin sehr, sehr dankbar, dass wir das dürfen beleben mit dieser Energie und auch der Gemeinde, die offen war von Anfang an. Ja, jedem einzelnen Bauer herzlichen Dank, Bäuerin, herzlichen Dank, dass wir da sein dürfen. Es ist ein Geschenk und es ist vielfach, dutzendfach, hundertfach zurückgekommen, wie ich selber gehört habe. Ich bin dankbar, dass all die Menschen dürfen sein oder sind, dass wir da sein dürfen. Ja, also ein grosses Dank an die ganze Gemeinde da, alle, die hier leben auf dem Land.
Ja, danke vielmals für die Chance, dass wir hier im Graubünden umgeben von diesen wunderschönen Bergen, sogar hier oben jetzt noch ein bisschen Schnee drauf, mit dem Wald, haben können das Pachamama feiern miteinander und zusammen sein in so einer wunderschönen Gemeinschaft von der Diversität mit mehr als 700 Kindern. Ich habe so Freude an allen Familien, die da sind und wieder ein Highlight hier, ja, hier zu sein und miteinander einzutauchen in die Kraft von der Musik, vom Tanz, von der Stille, von den Elementen und wirklich in dem Feld von der Liebe und der Verbindung können ganz viele Verbindungen knüpfen und weben von so schönen Menschen und viele Gaben neu entdecken und neu bringen. Es hat mich mega berührt, die 5 Tage hier zu sein im Graubünden.
Für mich ist das Pachamama Festival eine Gelegenheit, sich inspirieren zu lassen, aber auch sich zu erinnern, für was man gekommen ist und was man erfahren will.
Ich finde es auch schön, dass so die Kinder wirklich frei herumrennen, frei sich selber sein können, weil es ja keine Substanzen gibt, kein Alkohol, kein Plastik, kein Glas, wenig Gefahr in dem Sinne, sondern sehr viel Natur und dass alle sich wirklich ganz frei ausdrücken können hier.
Für mich der schönste Teil des ganzen Pachamama ist eigentlich die Zeit mit den Helfern, die wir hier in der Tiefe erlebt haben, wo wir zusammen aufbauen haben, wo mit Menschen, die wirklich auch in ihrem Herzen sind und gerne ihr Bestes geben für die Gemeinschaft oder auch für etwas Höheres. Für das wir ein Festival von der Liebe kreieren können und das tragen und miteinander etwas aufbauen, das alle nährt und stärkt und heilt.
Also für mich die schönsten Erfahrungen sind abends zusammen tanzen. So wirklich in der Menge von vielen Leuten, die man nicht kennt, aber auch viele Leute, die man nicht kennen, die man kennt halt. Und dann zusammen tanzen als Familie, mal mit diesem Kreis, mal mit diesem Kreis und mit Freunden, Freundinnen wieder mal wirklich sich begegnen. Auf der Tanzfläche, das ist etwas mega Schönes. Und für mich persönlich immer ein Höhepunkt ist das Feuer am Abend, wo man zusammenkommt, Musiker, Musikerinnen aus allen Himmelsrichtungen sich zusammenfinden und dann einfach jammen rund ums Feuer und singen und ihre Lebensfreude rauslassen und das ganze Feld mitnehmen zu gemeinsamen Tänzen und Jams ums Feuer. Mega schön sind aber die Momente einfach daheim oder im Bössli, dort wo man zeltet, mit den Leuten rundum, mit der Familie, wo man zusammen ist gekommen, um sich einfach in der Ruhe, in der Stille treffen und austauschen, zusammen zum Morgen essen, zusammen zur Nacht kochen. Das sind ganz schöne Momente.
Aber das absolut Schönste ist die Herzensverbindung mit den Menschen da und das Miteinander kreieren mit Menschen, die wirklich bereit sind, ihr Bestes zu geben aus ihrem Herzen. Und für mich ist das sehr essentiell. Für mich geht es um Lernen zu lieben, einander anzunehmen, lernen zu dienen, einander zu dienen, etwas Grösserem zu dienen und gleichzeitig uns zu erinnern, wer wir wirklich sind, wo wir herkommen, wo wir hingehen, was unsere Aufgabe ist und dass wir miteinander Weg finden, wie wir der Liebe und der Heilung dienen können. Und es geht nur über die Liebe, indem wir einander lieben, indem wir lernen lieben, indem wir in unseren Herzen ankommen und uns dort in der Tiefe auch miteinander verbinden. Und so uns erinnern, dass wir eigentlich Liebe sind und dass wir für das da sind. Und genau das, denke ich, haben wir auch da jetzt probiert zu machen und wir haben es auch geschafft. Auf vielen Ebenen, mit vielen Menschen, mit vielen Herzensverbindungen haben wir wirklich ein Feld der Liebe kreiert miteinander, wo die Erinnerung kann stattfinden kann, wer wir sind, wo wir angehören, was unsere Familie ist. Ja.
Also ich sehe das Pachamama natürlich auch als Übungsfeld, für wie wir umgehen miteinander, in einer Echtheit, in einer authentischen Präsenz. Und natürlich auch ein Übungsfeld ist, für nachher draussen in der Gesellschaft das reinzutragen. Das ist natürlich nicht der schwierige Teil, den Spirit, den man hier lebt, mitzunehmen, heimzunehmen. Und gleichzeitig ist es ein Übungsfeld. Wir alle sind unterwegs und werden immer mehr uns selber, in unserer Echtheit, in unserer Wahrheit. Und das wirkt nachher auch das kollektive Feld der Gesellschaft raus. Und ich glaube tatsächlich, mit dem, was wir hier leben, machen wir kleine Schritte, kleine Punkte von der Transformation, die rausgehen in die Gesellschaft, die man dann mit heimnimmt.
Ja, ich bin sehr, sehr berührt und dankbar für die Menschen, die gekommen sind, die wir zusammen das Feld kreiert haben. Also, es ist jetzt Montag, wir sind im Aufräumen. Und das Aufräumen ist genau wie das Aufbauen einfach in einer Ruhe passiert. Weil wir einfach so ein Feld haben, das uns unterstützt. Mit den Menschen ganz konkret, aber auch irgendwie, ich spüre das nicht direkt, aber es ist so eine, ich spüre es, mein Körper redet gerade dazu. Es ist so einfach unterstützt von allen Elementen von da. Das Wetter hat mitgemacht. Es war einfach so eine Welle, die uns durchgeführt hat und die weiterführt. Und was ich wirklich während dem Festival ein paar Mal ganz stark gespürt habe und mich sehr berührt hat, ist wieder, dass die Liebe, wie wir da zusammen leben können auf dem Platz in 5 Tagen und viel länger als 5 Tage, fast 3 Wochen mit allen Helfern, mit dem ganzen Team, dass es wirklich rausfließt. Es hat da auch eine Wasserscheide ganz da oben, die in 3 Richtungen fließt, in alle Meere hier in Europa. Und wirklich das Gefühl war, hey, das fließt wirklich in die Welt raus. Wir sind wirklich einen Schritt entfernt davon, dass wir miteinander in der Harmonie leben können. Dass die Kriege zu Ende gehen auf dieser Welt. Das fängt ja bei uns an, bei unserer Beziehung. Und dass das wirklich strömen, rausrippeln auf Englisch, dass es rauswellt in die Welt und dass es eine Änderung gibt. In jedem Einzelnen, jeder Familie und in jedem Land, auf der ganzen Welt, auf dem ganzen Planeten.
Ja, ich wünsche allen zukünftigen Pachamama-Besuchern und Besucherinnen genau so eine wunderschöne Erfahrung, wie all diejenigen Menschen es in den letzten paar Jahren hatten.